Alright, so hello and welcome to my video tutorial for Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue Speedruns. So, before you go and skip this intro video, I am going to say that I am going to be showing some basic game mechanics later in this video. So if you don't want to hear me talk about the game for all of like 2 minutes, you can go ahead and click on the annotation on the screen right now just to skip to those basic mechanics. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the game. So this is going to be the intro video for my tutorials. All of these tutorials are going to be for each level. I'm going to try and break down each trick, trick by trick. And every single one of these videos is going to have time codes. So if you look in the description, there will be time codes. So if you just need to reference any particular part of the level, you can quickly jump there and figure out how to do it, so you don't have to scrub through the whole video trying to find it. On top of that, this video tutorial is only going to be covering any percent N64, also known as 30 token, or 30 token any percent, whatever you want to call it, as long as you differentiate it from the other any percent category, which is any percent 40 token. Obviously, as the name of the category implies, any percent N64, this is going to be only playable on the N64. Now, if you want to play this on the console, you have to make sure that you get a version 1.0 of this cart. Otherwise, there's one glitch that you will not be able to perform, and it'll be about 30 seconds slower. If you're an emulator, you also need the 1.0 ROM. But the only known emulator that will emulate this game at the proper speed is Project 64 version 1.7. Both that emulator and the ROM are going to be, if you check the description, go to the leaderboards, and there's a resource tabs in the leaderboards. That will have everything you need to get started running this game, including the emulator and the ROM for the N64 version. Now, there are different versions of this game. It's on the PC, Dreamcast, and then there's PlayStation 1. It's also on the PlayStation Network, so all of those that can do PlayStation Network games. And the N64 version is the only one that can do 30 token. All the other versions, it's fastest to do it on PC, but the PC version will only work if you have a pretty old computer. So, yeah, the next fastest version would just be N64 for all the rest of them. So, unless your PC is compatible with the PC version of this game, you're more likely going to be running the N64 version anyways. So, with that said, I will just do a quick brief history of this game as a speed game. So, back several years ago, 2010, 2011, there were people that had casually speedrun this game, but nothing major. You know, just some casual speedrunners. The game really started as a speed game when Ring Rush made a 100% demonstration video where he basically save-stated a speedrun of the 100% on the PlayStation 1. Now, he found a ton of new tricks and whatnot, and that's what really launched this game as a speed game. Now, a bit less than a year later, Passive Bob-omb, who is basically the oldest serious Toy Story 2 runner, started running this game. So, when he started running it, he didn't want to do 100% because basically everyone that had casually run it before him was simply doing 100%. So he made an any percent category, and he kind of routed it out, he kind of didn't. He kind of just played the game, got 30 tokens wherever he kind of felt like it, and then finished. And he got a decent-ish time for whatever route he came up with, but it wasn't very good. About a year after Passive started playing the game, I joined the scene. And when I sat down and looked at the any percent route, I redid the whole thing. The entirety of this route was basically all made by me. It was made over the course of several months of testing and figuring out what tokens are optimal to get and whatnot. Just Passive and I collaborating, and basically me making up the whole route. And then throughout the time, there was also someone called Lance, or First Lance, and he has been the primary glitch finder and he's also for this game, and he's also found quite a few tricks. So with the combination of my new any percent route and all of the tricks and glitches that we've found, we went from a game where sub 40 wasn't even possible to now the world record as I'm writing this video is a 29:22. If it's different, I'll put an annotation on the screen. And the links to everything that I'm mentioning, so like the Ring Rush demonstration video, the world record video, those will all be in the description. And if anything changes, I will be putting annotations up or making entirely new videos. And that's something else I should say. This game, as a speed game, is constantly changing. We're always finding new tricks and glitches to help change this game, and so with that, obviously, my videos might not always be super up-to-date, but I will do my best to make new videos when we find a new trick or a glitch, and just completely replace the whole level video if we get a new trick. So, and if not, I will, at the very least, when we find a new trick, put an annotation up when in that corresponding location in that particular video. So if you aren't watching with annotations enabled, I would recommend enabling them to watch these, just so you know whether or not the trick that you're watching me perform or glitch or whatever is the most current. With that said, I think we can get into the actual game mechanics. So, when you first load up the ROM, it's going to bring you to this screen here. Just press start to enter, A to play game, and it'll bring you to this screen that we were staring at for a while. Andy's house is the only level you can select. Press A here, you'll be brought up to the loading screen. Now from this loading screen, once it lets you go in, it'll have the press A flashing there. Now if you press A, in the N64 version it does some slides with text, in every other version it actually has an animated video, more or less from the movie. And pressing A just goes through this. Now, if you press B instead of A, it will skip every single slide or whatnot, and you just go straight into the game. So, when you're on this loading screen, just always press B. It'll bring you straight into the game. And timing starts the moment you gain control of Buzz. So that's about 1.5 seconds after you press B from that menu there. And that is when the timing starts. Real quickly, I'll go over the menuing. So this is what the pause menu looks like. Some basic stuff. So the main complaint in this game is the camera. And there are two different modes for the camera. There is passive camera and active camera, and they do more or less what you think. So with active camera, which is the default enabled, you turn around and the camera will just always try to go behind Buzz. This is annoying because it usually lags behind, and getting, like, as you can see, obviously it's not behind me, and it's not going to turn until I stop moving. Really getting used to the active camera it just takes time. There's also passive camera, which is as you would presume. The camera will not move unless you push it up against a wall or an object or whatnot. So if I come here and push it up against this wall here, you can see the camera moved, even though I'm not moving it here. The only other way to move the camera is there are dedicated buttons to move the camera in this game. And we generally don't use passive camera unless we're practicing lining up for a trick or something, or learning something new. Because with passive camera it's just easier to get a consistent setup. But in runs we're going to use active camera, because passive camera, turning the camera, this is as fast as it will turn, and it is just too slow for general use. So we'll stick to active camera. And even in active camera, you'll notice it does take a little bit for the camera to catch up. So the one trick with the camera, if you need to snap it somewhere, so I want to snap it instantly to the direction I'm facing, and say I want to look backwards. So I turn around, quickly hit the first person view, and then exit first person view. And basically, that'll just snap the camera to right behind Buzz. So if we're trying to get a consistent setup for some weird jump or something, you might see us occasionally in the run like change a direction and then quickly double tap the first person view to change the camera. Also, you can also use the buttons to shift the camera view in active camera, but those generally aren't used. If we need to adjust the camera at all, aside from how it automatically adjusts it, we're generally just gonna snap and go in and out of first-person mode. Last feature is the exit level. Obviously, there's volume control, self-explanatory, but exit level. So when you hit exit level, it'll bring up a sub-menu. Are you sure? Yes. It will cut straight out. So, the point in this game is obviously to collect tokens, and once you have enough tokens, you can get to the next levels and do the last level. So now I'll just show you an example of a token real quick in that menu. Alright, so this is one of the tokens that we're going to be collecting in the run, and upon collecting a token, it will bring up a menu once you hit the ground. So, once you hit the ground after collecting a token, it'll say, bring up this menu where there are only two options, keep on playing or exit level. You will always, always, always hit keep on playing. You will never hit exit level. Even if it's the last token, you still do not hit exit level. So, just for an example here, when you hit exit level, he does this animation in a jump, and then it goes out, it fades out, and it comes to this screen. Now, that is very slow. So, waiting for him to do this cutscene. So, what we do instead, so say for example this is the last token we need to collect, we grab the token, then we go down to exit level, and click yes. And it will quickly cut out like that, and if you're fast enough, you can bring up the pause menu after you've collected the token, before the menu comes up. Just like that. So, the moment you've collected the token, you can go ahead and click exit level and it will cut out. Now, the very last thing I need to mention with menuing is that you can actually collect tokens after you've clicked exit level as long as it hasn't cut to this screen yet. So, for example, if I were to do this, alright, so I obviously haven't collected the token yet, but watch this. I'm going to exit the level, and even though I collected the token after I exited the level, it still counts. So that's all the basic menuing. Upon exiting the level, you'll get this screen where it'll say press A to exit. You should just be spamming A at this screen. It fades out. Once it fades out, it's going to bring up the do you want to save screen. So at this point, you should be spamming B. And then it will automatically move your cursor to the next level. So then you should be spamming A to get into the load screen here. And once you're in the load screen, remember you press B to skip the cutscene, so you should be spamming B, and blam, you're in the next level. So that's all of the basic menuing in this game, and camera control. And so now we are going to move on to attacks. So, for attacks in this game, there are a few different types of attacks. There's your basic laser, which is just pressing B, basic laser, woo. There is a charge laser, pretty self-explanatory. Once that bar fills up, you can release it to do a yellow laser, which does more damage. There is a ground pound. There is a spin. And then there is also one green laser in every level, excluding some boss levels. And a green laser will basically let you do the damage of a charge shot, but there's no cooldown to do a charge shot. So, we come over here and grab the green laser. You can see I'm just holding B down. I'm not spamming it at all, and it's spamming this, and every one of these green lasers does the same amount of damage as a fully charged yellow charge shot. And as you can see in the bottom right there, it has a little bar with the green, so you only have a certain number of uses for this green laser. But it shoots very fast, it does very high damage, and we'll pick it up in a couple runs. If not to do extra damage, simply because it's easier to spam if you just have to hold B. Because obviously holding B without the green laser doesn't spam it. To spam, you just have to mash as fast as possible, which will be used a couple times in the run. So that's the laser. Basically, most enemies you come across are going to be able to be hit by the laser. However, there are a couple, well, there's one specific common enemy, and then a few mini-bosses that actually cannot be damaged by the laser at all. So, in that case, there are three things that can hit it. The spin, the ground pound, and then there's also discs that you can unlock, but we actually don't unlock them in the 30 token run, so you don't have to worry about that. So, with the exception of one mini-boss, which we don't fight, every single thing can be hurt with spinning, ground pounding, and then most common enemies can be hurt with lasers. So, on to spinning mechanics. So, spinning and ground pounding actually have something in common. If you ground pound and if you spin, Buzz's hitbox to interact with things is actually slightly larger. So, I can go demonstrate this. So when I say interact with things, I mean entering a cutscene or running into like an NPC here. So as you can see, I'm standing right here, and once I spun, I didn't move, but I spun, and that lets me activate this cutscene. So sometimes you'll see people just randomly spinning. Sometimes that'll be to grab a coin so that you just have a slightly better chance to grab the coin because your hitbox is slightly extended. Same thing with the ground pound, so if I go right up next to him and then I ground pound, it activates the cutscene because Buzz's hitbox is slightly extended. So we will use that a couple times, but the extended hitbox isn't the main thing. Basically, yeah, you're just going to spin to extend your hitbox and get into cutscenes or talk to NPCs sooner. So with the spin, as I showed, if you just tap it, it does this little spin, and that will do damage. Or you can hold it, charge it, and then once you see it's fully charged, you spin like this. Now your movement while you're spinning is the same exact speed as walking, so that's not a big deal. And your hitbox is extended when you're spinning like this. However, the only time we use this in a run is when we're walking into cutscene triggers or NPCs, because it will cancel the animation, so that we don't have to wait for Buzz to recover after a full spin. As you can see, he kind of gets dizzy and he has to recover. So the only time we will use a charged spin is when walking into a cutscene or an NPC or whatnot, just to activate that cutscene slightly earlier. Now the last mechanic with the spinning is what we call the infinite spin glitch. And the infinite spin glitch is basically where we cancel the spin animation so we can do this little short tap spin as fast as possible. Because as you can see right now, I'm hitting the spin button as fast as I can, and he is spinning, and he has a little bit of a cooldown there. But if we hit spin and then hit laser, as you can see, he spins and then immediately goes out of the animation. So if we just spam the spin button and the fire button, this is what we refer to as the infinite spin glitch. So basically, whenever we're required to hurt an enemy with a spin, we'll do the infinite spin glitch, because yeah, it's just the fastest way to attack. So that's just simply hitting the spin button and the laser button at the same time. And yeah, that's the infinite spin glitch. Sometimes that will be referred to as ISG, infinite spin glitch. And so lastly, the last attacking mechanic that we have to go over is the ground pound. Now, this will do damage to enemies, and it does the same amount of damage as a spin, which is low. I think it's about the same as a red laser. It doesn't really matter, because the only time that you'll be using not a laser to attack is when an enemy is invulnerable to a laser. So its damage relative to the laser is irrelevant. But the damage you do from a spin, like so, and the damage you do from a ground pound are the same. However, we're basically never going to use a ground pound to hurt anything because it's slow, as you can see. Recovering from a ground pound is slow versus just being able to spam spin like so. However, ground pounding does have one other use. There will be several times in the game where you have to interact with buttons or whatnot on the ground, and to interact with those buttons you have to ground pound on them. So I'm just going to quickly head over to a button and show you some examples with that real quick. Alright, so here are some buttons that you have to interact with by ground pounding on them. You'll be able to tell that you have to ground pound because they have the green arrows flashing over them. We don't actually interact with these particular buttons in the 30 token run, However, we will be interacting with buttons, and these are a good example because when you ground pound on these, you see a visual representation of that red paint coming out that you hit the button. So obviously, just simply ground pounding on the button will activate it. However, if you ground pound next to the button and say you missed it, like see how I missed it there? Well, if you're close enough, once you ground pound and miss it, your state of being in that ground pound, or whatever you want to call it, is still active for a split second after you regain control. So I missed the button here, but I walk over the button right after my ground pound, and it still works. We don't actually take advantage of this. It's just a backup strat if for some reason you missed a button, just barely. You notice it, you just walk towards the button, and you can still activate that button. So you don't have to lose any time if you accidentally miss the button. Which can happen more often than you think. But yeah, that's all the basic attacks. I will mention there are some enemies that have invincibility frames. Usually the mini-bosses, if they have invincibility frames, they'll be flashing or glowing green or something, and you'll be able to tell. But there is one common enemy that has invincibility frames, and that is the car. And it doesn't really flash or anything to let you know it has invincibility frames, but as you can see here, your lasers will bounce off of it when he is invincible. So when you're destroying cars, you're going to basically just want to use charge shots, because one charge shot will kill a car. But for any other enemy, you're basically just going to be spamming the red laser, because the red laser doesn't have a limit to how fast you can spam it. Or, I mean, you're not always going to be using one, so, I mean, if you're coming around a corner and you know there's going to be an enemy there, you can charge your laser before and hit it, because one charge shot will generally kill most of the common enemies before, elevator hop. I think they get some more health once you reach elevator hop. But yeah, that's basic attacks, and so now we're going to move on to some basic movement. Alright, so, basic movement. In this game, there's only one speed of walking. I mean, well, if you have an analog stick, you can creep, but basically, yeah. One speed of walking, there's no running, so that's all straightforward. There is a ledge grab in this game, so just like the ledge grab in literally any game ever, if you jump towards a ledge and you don't quite make it, but you're kind of close and you hold towards the ledge, you will ledge grab, like so. It's pretty straightforward, nothing complicated about that. I will note that there are a couple of places, a couple of particular ledges in this game that are very, very difficult to ledge grab, and that's just bad programming. You can ledge grab basically any flat ledge in this game, but yeah, some of them are definitely harder than others, with a couple ledges in this game in particular being very difficult, although we don't have to ledge grab any of those in this run, so you don't have to worry about that. Yep, ledge grabbing, simple forward concept. So the other type of main movement is double jumping, or single jumping, but we're going to focus on double jumping. So there are actually two different types of double jumps. So your typical double jump, you're just hitting A as fast as possible. As you can see, we're not getting very far with that. We're just pressing A as fast as we can, and obviously we're not reaching that crib. Now, if we space out our first and second jump properly, we can do what we call an extended double jump. You'll commonly hear it in the community referred to as an X double, just short for extended double jump. And that's basically just when you delay your second jump on that double jump so that you can get farther than you normally should. So as you can see, that would be an example of not waiting long enough, but if you wait too long to do your double jump, it will also not work, because as you can see, blam, no height. To get a proper extended double, really, it's just practice. So this spot where I'm jumping right here is a good spot for beginners to practice extended double jumping. Just jump from the chair to that crib. It's not a particularly hard extended double jump, but it's not super easy either. So this is a good place to start. It is good to note that whenever you're doing an extended double jump, always try and jump from as far off the edge as possible. So this game, generally, because Buzz rotates, like right here, he's obviously on the chair, but right here, it looks like he's not on the chair at all. So just learning the game and knowing where you can jump before falling off an object is a big part of this game. Especially on extended double jumps, because you'll definitely accidentally walk off when you meant to jump sometimes. So just making sure you learn how to do that and learning the extended double jump. So this is the first place I would recommend people to practice it. And once you think you've kind of got this extended double jump down, which is a fairly easy one, where I would practice the next extended double jump, and this is going to be the hardest extended double jump that we do in the game. There are harder ones, well, in the route anyways. There are harder ones in the game, but we don't use them in any route. But it's this jump right here. So from this board, you do a well-timed extended double jump off this board there, and you can ledge grab right here. This is the hardest extended double jump in the route, as I mentioned. So if you want to really make sure that you've got your extended double jumps down, right here is the next place you would practice, because the extended double jumps will not get any harder than this one. And that's extended double jumps out of the way. That's the only other basic movement. So we only really have one thing in movement left to cover, and that is circle jumping. Alright, so the last little movement thing about this game is the circle jump. So that is basically where we do a tight circle when we're jumping up any rope or pole. So this is applicable for every single rope and pole in the whole game. So the best place to practice this is just going to be right here on the tree. Once you get up this high, jump on this rope, and it will bring the rope all the way down. And this is the longest rope/pole in the game. So when you get on a rope/pole, you'll see this little climbing animation. When you go down, he'll kind of spin. But basically, just climbing up is very, very slow. So circle jumping will help you do it faster, and I'll show that right now. So circle jumping is just, as it sounds, jumping off the rope, doing a circle, and jumping back onto the rope. Now each one of these circle jumps actually saves a considerable amount of time. However, it's you got to practice it because it's a fine balance between making as tight a circle as possible and not making one that's too tight. Because if you make one that's too tight, as you can see here, Buzz will just kind of do that, and you're not gaining any height. You're actually just losing time. So you got to practice this where you can do these tight circles, but you don't do them so tight that happens and you're falling down. So that's basically that. Every single rope and pole we do on the game, with like maybe one or two exceptions, we're going to be using this circle jumping. So this is a very good thing to practice and know how to do correctly. Yep, and this is where you would want to practice it, because this is definitely the longest rope in the game. Jumping too tight a circle is not going to get you any faster, and doing this is not really any faster. Yeah, make sure you can circle jump properly. I guess the last thing I want to mention about movement is when you're falling, if you fall for long enough, you'll see Buzz gets into that falling animation where he's like, whoa, whoa. When he is in that falling animation, you cannot grab onto anything. So if I'm, say, this pole and then I start falling, you can see I kind of went through that rope there and I didn't grab it. So be wary of that. However, when you are in the falling animation like that, if you haven't already used your double jump, you can double jump. So that's a way to recover from that type of falling animation. Because normally, if you fall like that, once you hit the ground there, you see it'll take him a second to get back up. So generally, when we're doing long falls, you're going to want to make sure that you haven't used your second jump in that fall, and that way, before you hit the ground, you can jump and recover. And you can continue moving without having to wait for Buzz to pick himself up off the ground. Also, you can ground pound and, well, if I get high enough, you can ground pound, and then even in the ground pounding animation, you will still get the falling animation. But from that, you can do that second double jump. So, yeah. But I will also note ground pounding does not actually add any speed to your falling over just regular falling. So whenever we're going down, we're usually not going to be ground pounding unless it's for some specific timing or something. Because as you can see, and then that falling is pretty fast, and if I just ground pound, it's literally the same exact falling speed, except now you have to wait a tiny bit for him to start and end the ground pound animation. But yeah, that's all basic movements, and that's basically everything that you're going to need to know as far as basic game mechanics go. So we will go ahead and get into the first level, which is Andy's house. Alright.